There are those who say that fiction is a waste of time, that only nonfiction is relevant because the world is complex and fast with little time for things that did not happen. In this speech, I will show why fiction is still important. Throughout this speech, I explore fiction's impact to our morals and ethics, its value as entertainment, and its influence on those who have read it. I'm an avid reader, and I have studied, written, and dissected fiction for many years. Fiction ignites the imagination and stretches the mind. It puts our morals and ethics to challenge. Writing in Forbes in 2015, Thomas Eldridge and Ernest Stein Fu wrote, "Great books spark many interpretations and meanings originating in the author and the society where and when the book was written, change with our own thoughts and times. Thus, fiction changes us to think about where our values and ethics come from, how they have evolved, and if they stand up to dilemmas." Elrich and Fu continue. The human condition is complex and contradictory, layered like an ice cream parfait with flavors blending among the layers. A great novel reflects that complexity. Now that I have discussed how fiction expands the mind, let me move on to my next point, which is as entertainment. Fiction is often split into two categories: literature and everything else. One is seen as having value, literature, while the other, everything else, is seen as escapism. This often seen as being cheap and a waste. Writing for The Guardian in 2013, author Neil Gaiman wrote, "I hear the term escapism bandied about as if it's a bad thing, as if escapist fiction is a cheap opiate used by the muddled and the foolish and the deluded. And the only fiction that is worthy for adults or for children is mimetic fiction, mirroring the worst of the world the reader finds herself in. Fiction, literature, or everything else can simply be a way to relax and unwind from the stress of every day." Now that I have discussed fiction as entertainment, let me move on to my next point, which is how fiction helps to shape the world around us. Fiction shows a world beyond our own. Writer for The Guardian in 2013, author Neil Gaiman wrote, "Once you've visited other worlds like those who ate fairy fruit, you can never be entirely content with the world that you grew up in. Discontent is a good thing. Discontented people can modify and improve their words, leave them better, leave them different. Fiction can ignite the imagination of the reader, so much so that he or she carries that spark out of the fictitious world and into our own." Gaiman continued, "I was in China in 2007 at the first party-approved science fiction and fantasy convention in Chinese history. SF had been disapproved in China for a very long time. At one point I took a top official aside and asked him what had changed. It's simple, he told me. The Chinese were brilliant at making things if other people brought them the plans. But they did not innovate and they did not invent. They did not imagine. So they sent a delegation to the US, to Apple, to Microsoft, to Google. And they asked the people there who were inventing the future, and they found that all of them had read science fiction when they were boys and girls. In conclusion, fiction shows us other worlds, shows us our world imperfect, shows us our world perfect, shows us striving, fall, stumbling, and striving again. It shows us that what if that can carry over from the fictitious world to our own. The what if. I have discussed why fiction is more important than ever. Throughout this speech, I explored fiction's impact to our morals and ethics, how it managed and tested them, explored its value as entertainment, both literary and other, and looked at what those who have read fiction have done, and why many who look for inventing and creativity still seek it. Knowledge is power.